We will turn now to English, calling to the stage Francisco Gonçalves, moderator of the Painel National Cities Platforms, Upscaling the 100 Climate Neutral Cities Mission, and the speakers Julio Lumbreras, Maria João Rodrigues, and Olga Kordas.
Good morning, everyone. I think you can listen to me. My name is Francisco Gonçalves, and I'm with the platform of NetZeroCities, also with Energy Cities, a partner of NetZeroCities. That is the platform that supports the European Climate Neutral and Smart Cities mission. I am a city advisor of some Portuguese and Spanish cities. I work very close with Valladolid, that is here, with Guimarães, Porto, Lisbon, and I have the privilege to work also very close with the national platforms of Spain and Portugal that are here. So as we have already heard this morning, we are working with 112 cities in Europe. We have already 53 cities that have the mission label. So the mission label and the Portuguese and Spanish cities, all of them have already the mission label. That is more than a quality, I would say, a quality label. Gives access also to a range of services, and I would like to highlight them as financial services. So from services from the European Investment Bank that we are going to listen this afternoon, and also from the Capital Hub. These cities, these 112 cities, need to be resourced, and resourced also to allow these short-term goals, and the success of these cities will also show and pave the way to long-term successes of these cities. One of these supports, and I would say that one of the most important supports of the cities comes from the national level, and we have here the opportunity to speak and to understand and recognize the importance of these national platforms. We have from Sweden here, Olga Kordas, hello.
Hey.
She's an associate professor in the Institute of Technology in Stockholm. So she's also the director of Viable Cities, so I would say one of the maybe oldest, I think it's older than CTS. Yes. So it's really, I would say, the front runner in this national platform. We have Julio Lumbreras here from CTS, that is also professor at the Polytechnical University in Madrid, and I would say one of the biggest ambassadors also of the mission cities. And on my left side here, Maria João Rodrigues, that is also executive coordinator of Cidades, pelo Clima here in Portugal. She is a researcher at ENMAIS and has a huge experience with local level, but also with the national level and I would say private sector. I would say she's the representative in person of multi-level governance, I would say. And I would start first with, hello and thank you very much for being here. I think it's a pleasure to have this panel. I would say it's a luxury panel here and everyone has the luck to be here and to listen to them. I would start with Olga. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Matosinhos. And my first question, that's the same question for everyone. If you can describe your platform, Viable Cities, how it is formally formed, the main activities, and yeah, please, and the cities that you represent, the type of cities, just briefly introduce a bit Viable Cities.
Thank you so much. Viable Cities, we are kind of one of the oldest and largest platforms in Europe, national platforms, and we started already 2017. It was before the European Commission decided to initiate missions. We are formed as a strategic innovation program of Sweden, and with the goal for supporting cities to become climate neutral and sustainable. So we're funded by 3 funding agencies in Sweden. It's Innovation Agency, Energy Agency, and the Research Agency. And we're having approximately budget of 150 million euro for 12 years until 2030. 50% are coming from the government and 50% are co-funding on the project base from different actors. We already year 2018, when the first ideas from Mariana Mazzucato came to be known on the European level, we went together with my former chair for the program, Alan Larsson. You worked with him a lot. So we went to Brussels to know about the new Horizon program. And then it was Carlos Moedas times. Commission decided that might be we have missions, and we came back to Sweden and said, okay, we will not wait until Commission would introduce the missions and how it will be. We will introduce missions in Sweden. So already 2019, we started with, we had a call for proposal, and we had first 9 cities during our first mission call. We didn't know what is that about. I mean, we knew the mission, so we formulated mission together with cities and companies and universities, civil society organization. And the mission that we formulated 2018 was climate neutral cities by 2030 with good life for all within planetary boundaries. Because for us it was very important to say that we cannot work with a climate transition without thinking about sustainability, about social sustainability, about people, about quality of life of people, about the competitive advantage of companies. Also, so we cannot think about climate transition without thinking about resources and circularity, because we don't have endless resources to drive the economy. So that's why I think that Viable Cities mission is kind of having a kind of very clear and good mission and clear focus on the citizen-centered approach. So 9 cities, and we designed all the tools that we are using using now together with cities. It was very important. It was not us or somebody coming to city and say, you know what, you should do climate city contract, or you know what, you should do here and there. But we were really co-creating all the tools as climate city contract, as a climate investment plans, or different tools that we are using for governance, multi-level governance instruments together with cities. This was extremely important. So the money that we are having from the government, we are using both for kind of orchestration, coordination, knowledge creation, co-creation with cities. It's one part of it, but another part of it is going to cities. So we are doing the kind of easy calls for proposals, but cities who are working with us are getting also money. So we have both money to design urban experimentations, but we also have money to give to cities. And I believe this is very crucial, because cities, all the work cities are doing with the climate transition is a new work, it's innovation work, both on governance and new types of kind of engagement with local community. And of course, cities need to have support, because we are very easy to say, oh, but cities should do this and that, but we need to support cities. And this is kind of Viable Cities is a voice of cities when we are talking to the national level and when we are talking on the European level. So it's not just cities need to do this and that, but how do we support cities? And this is kind of very crucial for Viable Cities. So we started with 9 cities, and year 2021, we were 23 cities. And then from last year, we are 48. So we created first the movement of the willing, those kind of stronger cities who wanted to do work with us, who wanted to co-create all these kind of new tools and methods, who believed in us. And then we were clear that we don't know how to work missionary, how to work together missionary-oriented, but we found out the ways together with cities. And then when those 9 cities were successful and believed that they got a lot because of the learning, because of the kind of our lobbying towards the national authorities, then many more cities say, okay, guys, and we are here, we also want to be a part of it. So it was easy for us to grow to 23. And then it was easy for us last year. Like we had a new call for proposal, and then the whole of 48 cities joined. We also have all the largest cities: Stockholm, Gothenburg, Malmö, Umeå, Lund, Uppsala, you name it. But then from last year, we have also small cities, and we believe it's very important. So to scale from these old cities to small cities. So just like to finalize this. Yeah, I can tell a lot what we are doing, but okay, I will not do it just now. But just for the anecdote, so it was the first large conference that we had for 2 weeks ago in Lund, and actually the conference was about so-called transition lab forums that we have within Viable Cities. So it was about funding, financing, procurement. We had all banks, insurance companies, pension funds, a lot of funders there. It was a great meeting. And then for the first time, we've got all these kind of all cities coming together. And also we had, for the first time, it was also people who are working with this, like climate experts from cities, but also financial economy directors. And it was the first time these people, economy people came there. And we say, okay, now things are happening. Because as the Stockholm's economy director showed a book with this, which is a budget of the city of Stockholm. It's a book like this, I promise you, I could not imagine. And they say, it's our Bible. What like everything which is written in our budget will be implemented. Everything which is not written in our budget will not be implemented. So this is our Bible. And then this climate investment plan is a part of this Bible. So then the economy directors in other municipalities, okay, it's not something some crazy guys in the environment, the climate are doing. It's budget people and economy people are doing. So I think that it's very important also how cities inspire each other. But the anecdote was about this kind of twin cities, these small cities, because we invited large cities to invite smaller cities in the consortium when they applied for money. And then, so you could see kind of people are going like 3 people together everywhere. And they were telling to our new chairperson, Anders Wickman, yeah, but it's me, the city of Lund, and these are my twillings. And our chairperson were asking, are you brothers and sisters here? No, we're twillings. So it was really nice to see that this kind of more experienced cities were going with this kind of those kind of twilling cities together everywhere, showed everywhere, just like really taking care. And this is the most important in the national platforms, that we are creating the trustful environments. Because when we are working in the climate transition, it's hard. And we have mayors here. We are getting a lot of pushbacks from some political forces, from some people, and so we are, so it's not easy. And then that's why we need to create this kind of environments where like cities are supporting each other, people working on climate transition are supporting each other, people in the economy department are supporting each other, and then they also feel that we are many now. We are not marginalized 2 cities or 3 cities, 2 experts or 3 experts, but we are a large force. So I think that if our national platform has done something, it's created the momentum and the movement of cities, companies, universities, civil society organizations who want to drive transition and who support each other.
We'll get to that soon. Julio, maybe the same question for you, and how do you create this trustful environment also in Spain?
Great, thank you. Well, muito obrigado pela invitación. Muito contento de estar aqui. Dejo de falar portuñol, mas move to English. So, if I need to summarize, I like your idea of this twins, so now I think we are twins, right? I'm so happy to stay here today because now we have the Portuguese platform, and the Spanish platform began 4 years ago because we were inspired by you, and now probably the 2 of us are inspiring Portugal, and maybe we are creating a family or a group of national platforms across Europe that it's really amazing, right? So we grow, or we were born thanks to you, because we were inspired by your work when Paulo and I were at the mission board, and we looked at Sweden, and then in Spain we replicated it. So that was the beginning. Now we are 17 cities in Spain, so we have the 7 mission cities, including Valladolid and Barcelona. I think they will also join later online, plus 5 more as mission cities, but we also have 10 more cities, so 17 in total. And if I have to summarize what we do, is I would say that cities feel how hard this is, right? We see you as mayors and vice mayors and all people, we know how ambitious this is, right? So we know that we cannot make this alone. So no city can do this alone. So the idea of this platform is to create a family where we can work together, where we can share our experiences, where we can support each other, where we can join forces, gain scale, bring the private companies in many cities together, share risks, because when a mayor decides to implement some of these policies or measures, we know how hard this is sometimes. So if we are together, we can join forces and share this risk, right? So that's the idea of the platform, right? Creating a trustful, as you said, trustful space or a safe space where we can work together, right? And we are focusing on 3 main aspects, and I'll try to be short because otherwise we won't have time for the other questions. But the 3 main things is, one is networking, so sharing, working together, what I mentioned. Second is capability building, because I think all cities also are suffering lack of capacity, skills, people, resources. So that platform is a way to build these capacities jointly also. And the third is to implement the mission, but together. So rather than just working in an isolated way, working on implementing our climate city contracts or the action plans or whatever, creating a joint effort, right? So for example, we are working on a multi-city program to retrofit buildings in the 7 cities together. So now Valladolid is working on retrofitting their buildings, but in collaboration with the others, so they establish a challenge and they work together. It's not only about talking and sharing, but also working together. So these are the main 3 things we are doing in the platform.
Thanks, Julio. And here the younger sister or brother.
We're the baby brother. or sister. We call it sister, actually, in Portuguese. So, so the platform, the Cidades, pelo, Clima, started 1 year ago, more or less. So we are really the babies here. And very much inspired, of course. Dr. Ricardo Rio already mentioned this was an initiative, collective initiative from the cities and regions that submitted their interest to the mission. But there was also accompanying this movement a mentor, a catalyzer in this, which was Professor Paulo Ferrão, that was inspired by your own platform. So this is how it starts. And it was also said that it's not legally constituted, but we developed the instruments necessary for if we want to evolve that way. We are already ready to do that. So we have a General Assembly, of which Dr. Ricardo Rio is the president. We have a coordinating council. It's a executive body that is led by the president of Matosinhos, Dra. Luísa Salgueiro. And we also have a consulting council that's now kicking off. And that involves a lot of other stakeholders that should be involved in this, and with this sense of being having a broad representation of stakeholders, but also at several levels and acting at several levels. So operationally, what we do, and it has been also clear that ENMIS is the technical secretariat of the platform. And what we do, we articulate both with the social bodies and at more strategic level, and then both on an operational level with the teams of the 20 cities and regions. And we constituted 4 working groups, so one on energy, one on mobility, one on buildings and one on carbon removal. We'll have representatives of almost every municipality in these working groups, different interests, of course. Just tomorrow, we're having a joint session of these working groups that are getting together, because what you said is very, very true. It's important to have people networking, sharing their experiences, and when people are together, they jump in their knowledge, and it's very important to not to be afraid how to do, and learning with how to do something that someone already went that way, and this is very important. So, of course, that we are in Portugal, and we are known to have this creativity called financing engineering. So we are working and trying to do a lot with very little in terms of financial resources. We have a funding, partial funding from the environmental fund, but it's a small portion of all that is implied, and has been very creatively that we have been making use of these resources also to make available these tools to the cities. Professor Painel already presented some, and we are trying to use them, and also evolving with new tools that are needed for cities to develop their own climate contracts, but action plans that make sense in their territories, with measurable impacts and comparable ones also. And that's it. I would say we are willing to learn a lot with your platforms, and I think we can start a little bit more, because you have been doing the hard work, so we are now learning with you.
Thanks, Maria João. And let's now move to more concrete actions, I think, because we learn also through the concrete actions and the things that went well and did not go so well, the lessons learned. And Julio, we heard Professor Paulo Ferrão showing this very important figure that we see that municipalities are responsible for less than 10% of the emissions, and also with the investment associated. We have, for instance, here Valladolid and Guimarães that they have a huge role of the private sector, where we have that's really impressive, like 5% of the emissions come from the city level. CTS 2030 is doing some actions to attract the private sector, but also to attract private investment. Can you describe what steps have you given so far to bring this private investment also to the cities and to the platform, and how the platform shows and supports the cities in this way?
Well, thank you. It's a hard question, because it's probably the hardest thing to do, right? So first, we support what cities are doing. And for example, Valladolid, probably later Alejandro will talk about this, but they created this Valladolid Now, a movement with more than 150 private companies. So having a platform where they can share this and learn from others, it's useful, I would say, but that's the work of the cities, and they are doing great. And on top of this, what we are doing is mainly three things. First, we are supporting what we call high-level dialogue between the cities and the private companies, because when we transform the cities and when we need this huge amount of investment, as Paulo was saying before, there is lots of constraints. There is, human resources constraints, because there is no people to retrofit buildings or install solar panels or whatever. There is also lack of resources in terms of materials. There is a logistic change that is hard. So we need also to think on ways to make this possible, because the value chain is not that easy to develop at that scale, right? So this is one thing. So we promote this kind of dialogues between the industry and the cities to find ways to improve or overcome the barriers that this huge transformation would require, right? And engaging all the stakeholders. That's the first, that's maybe very political and very, let's say, high level, right? But we think it's necessary. Second, we ask private companies to engage in real work in the city. So what we are doing is we are asking the private companies to sign the climate city contracts with specific commitments. And what we are asking them, so for example, if there is a utility in Spain, so they commit to increase their investments in green electricity, but also to decarbonize their assets in their city. So for example, there is a public huge utility who committed to transform all their assets in the 7 cities to be zero emissions in 2030, which means all buildings, all the assets, and also all the fleet, their fleet by 2030. The same with some private companies, for example, in the supermarket sector and others. So we are supporting private companies to commit to specific actions to a specific investment to become climate neutral by 2030. And the third thing is we are starting this. So with the national government, we are establishing a private-public fund where the public body, the minister, will give maximum of 49% of investments for projects that are within the portfolio of projects of the Climate City contract. So cities have the Climate City contract with 50, 60, whatever number of actions, right, or projects. And the idea is to pick those that would require or are able for a public-private investment with a technological aspect, and then we will join a private company and the government to invest on these projects, if possible, in more than one city simultaneously, to invest and to do the work without any money from the city, which is good because cities, at least in Spain, are hard to get loans because of a public law we have that they cannot get debt, right? So they cannot increase their debt. So it's a way to do projects without any money from the city. So these are the 3 things we are working with.
49% from the
49%
national.
maximum public, because as a public body, that's an innovation agency in the country. They cannot invest in more than 50% of any project.
Okay, thank you very much. Olga, now coming to you, but a bit more to another point. Maybe you want also to add something on the finance, but I also would be very, very, very curious to understand a bit more on the engagement also with the private sector and through the transition labs, that I think it's a very concrete tool and very specific from Sweden. So can you tell us a bit about that?
So, yes, so when we are having we have our own funds, and this, of course, this is a different story. And I hope that we will find a way through European funding or national funding to create this possibility, because this changed a lot. So within Viable Cities, we have what we call Viable Cities Transition Lab. It's a co-creation space, also funded, to co-create between cities and between different actors, including, of course, funders and private sector, and also civil society organizations. So what we create through this transition lab is kind of urban experimentations when we are talking about new solutions. For example, we have what we call system demonstrators now in Stockholm or in Lund, where we are looking for, like in Lund, the possibility of developing new types of energy communities and distributed energy systems. And there are a lot of private sectors, companies are involved. So we are developing not only technical solutions, but also financial solutions for that, and also scaling mechanism. And this is important because what we know, we started to talk in Sweden about the graveyard of pilots, which is, so it's kind of not a good metaphor, but it's the truth. So what we have is a lot of one-time implementations. And all cities are competing with each other a little bit. I mean, so mayors love to stay. So we have several mayors here to stay there and say, okay, we've done this the first in the world, in Europe or so. Look, I mean, this is just great. And this is fantastic. But unfortunately, what happened after that, so we don't see upscaling. So we don't see so many of those experimentation or pilots then to be used in other places in the same cities or in other cities. So what we are trying to do also with funding, financing in private sector is to create upscaling mechanisms, like how to steal with pride. So how our cities can be a quick second, not only first, but quick second to implement something that somebody else already tried to do and tested, and then what is the role of private sector, but also funding organizations, banks, and pension funds to scale up. So through Viable Cities Transition Lab, so we're testing, experimenting, but also working a lot with upscaling. So how to work with what we called also accelerators, to have an innovative solution from one city and scale it to all cities that we are working with and also beyond, and also, of course, like through European one. So this, I believe we are somewhere there on this kind of energy community and the solution which is inspired by broadband, by private companies who actually created the first broadband system in Sweden that is used all over the world. So I think that we have something super, super cool there. Just if you are interested, we can kind of share experience there. But also in the kind of solutions within mobilities, both how to electrify mobility, but also how to reduce use of private cars, and so on and so forth. So I think that within Viable Cities Transition Lab, so we have a more systemic approach where we're looking for technological solutions about knowledge, funding instrument, and upscaling.
Thank you so much. Maria João, one of the main barriers for accelerating the transition at city level is the lack of skilled staff. How do you think that these national platforms can tackle this issue, bringing capacity building or building capacity to the municipal staff, and how in particular Cidades, pelo, Clima can contribute for that?
Well, Francisco, I think we are already contributing. That's one of the basic parts of our work and where to start. And so we are developing now, during this year, an exercise with the working groups that it's to develop specific instruments in each of these areas: energy, mobility, buildings, and carbon removal. And we are following this design thinking approach where we want to test the final instrument within the municipality. So but in order to do this path, we need to first have the capability to understand the problem we're tackling, right? So that's the basis, and that's where we start with the discovery of the theme. And most of our activities so far have been with different angles and different approaches to provide these skills and competences so that people will feel more secure when approaching the development of something around that. Then that's it. So every working group started, and as I said, we started May last year, so it's not even a year. We started with a sequence of workshops, one on each theme, and then we built upon that in order to adapt to the reactions we had and to the needs that we identified meanwhile. So it's a path, but I think, and then there's a lot of those people participating here. I see so many faces, and I think we all agree that we are now in the moment that we are able to get a step further and go forward and develop this type of instruments.
Thank you. Julio, back to you. Also in this capacity building, one of the main activities, not the main, but one flagship activity of CTS is the organization of the summer school. We have now, I think we are going to the 4th edition in July. One thing that is very curious, and we know how cities are busy and how people, staff are very busy with the daily management of the cities. Can you describe a bit how this summer school work, and how can you have municipal staff, someone even political level, 3 days in Santander in this summer school?
Well, maybe this brings us to one thing that I think it's important, is the human factor, right? So I think we need to establish these relationships with others, and it's not just about doing the work, but doing it differently and collaborating with others and engaging, right? And we need this contact in person, otherwise we will lose energy and we won't do this anymore, right? So that's why this summer course is very important for people, because it's the yearly moment to meet each other. And we organized the sessions. It's a summer school, but it's not a school. It's like a gathering, right? So we combine working sessions with lots of fun activities, right? When I say fun, I mean dinners. But for example, last year we also organized, have you heard, of course, about this Eurovision, right? The singing contest in Europe. So we organized the Euromission. So it was a contest between cities where they were not singing, but presenting their projects, and we were voting for this. So it was a fun moment, right? So they were sharing their experiences, and what was interesting, not only the good things, but also failures. So we voted for the best failure. So the worst case that was able to learn, to teach the cities to do this differently, right? So this combination of nice and joyful moments, let's say, with working moments was important. And I think that's the foundation of all the work, because we need these connections and we need these dinners where people talk to each other, and not only about work issues, but also about their families and their life and whatever. So these bonds, it's really critical. And so I think that's one of the ingredients for this course. And the other one is that we are always, or at least we try always, to prepare something that is useful for them. So we always ask, what do you need? So for example, we are now starting, next session, not today, but next Monday, will be focused on asking the cities, what you need this year? What is at stake for you? So, and we organize all the sessions according to their needs and with them. Some are, and most of the sessions are co-organized by cities. So it's not us we are organizing, but we are bringing them and they are leading the process, right? So this co-creation and organizing things around their needs, I think that's critical. And final, it's the political support. So you mentioned that there is, Alejandro has been there for, I think, 2 years already, and we have had mayors many years. This year we'll try to bring all the mayors to re-sign the Climate City contract, because there is an iteration. So hopefully we would have the 9 mayors, 7 plus 2 new cities that will prepare the Climate City contract, and also having this political support is good both for the political people, because they are more engaged and they know better the mission, but also for the technical people. So I think these 3 ingredients, so combining joyful sessions with work, focusing on their needs and bringing the political support, I think these are the main things.
Thanks, Julio. Olga, in Sweden, how do you raise capacity to the cities, to the 48 cities?
Yeah, I think that we are raising capacity of each other. So I think that we are raising also our own capacity to support cities better. But so, like, thinking about what you are doing, of course, we are not doing summer school, but we are doing transitional forums 3 times a year. So we have 3 times a year, 3 full days of activities by different topics. we co-organize those together with cities. So we always have a host city or co-host city. So now we had Lund about funding, financing, procurement. Next one this year will be in Linköping, and it will be about smart mobility. And the third one will be in Karlstad. That will be very interesting because we will talk about integration of climate adaptation and climate mitigation, but also about safety, security, and how do we combine. So now everybody talk about defense, about resilience. So how do we combine work on climate transition with those kind of safety, security, resilience topics? So would be very interesting, and it's also the topics are defined, like we define together with cities, and we are bringing in many stakeholders. Also through this, all cities, so cities are queuing to be a co-host, even if it's some work to do, but I think that also cities have possibility to show the best of it. So we had, like last year, one, for example, in Östersund, where we have all the ski competitions and skating competitions, also European ones, and then they were talking about events as a motors for transition. So then we did a lot of skating and skiing, and we only hope that nobody get hurt. So that is kind of viable cities get hurt exercise, but it was very nice. So cities are also showing the best of us. So it's a moment to shine. So this is how we do this summer, like this kind of conferences, very, very compact conferences. Now we also, as they are like within specific topics, we also started to do actionable points as a statement from the conference, so that we say, okay, from this conference we'll also take some actionable points, how do we work further, so that we can follow up and continue our work. But we also have we have weekly meetings with all cities who are interested in some particular topics. We have climate breakfasts about different topics where we invite experts and cities to discuss it very often and put it online on YouTube. So we have a lot of events for capacity building, actually, and all of them is by cities. So cities are defining what kind of competences they need. So we think it's very, very crucial to do like that. Also for politicians, we are having now twice a year, we are inviting mayors, one in connection to one of the Transition Lab Forum. So politicians are always invited, of course, for this kind of ordinary conferences. But so it will be kind of when mayors are coming together to discuss kind of what are the issues they have together in common. And also once a year on during European Viable Cities Day, mayors are re-signing the climate city contracts, because we are re-signing climate city contract each year. Both mayors, like it's mayors, me, and then 6 governmental agencies who have their commitments. And I think that to have 48 mayors or some vice mayors coming there and talking about kind of the achievement, but also problems, but also requesting from the national level kind of a support. It's very, very strong. It's very, very strong voice, both national and, of course, on the European level.
Thank you, Olga. So going now to, and I'm going to ask the audience, if you have questions, please think about the questions, because I will go back to you very soon. But before that, I would like to understand and to know from the networks and the platforms, Maria João. I know that you've been very active for the last year, but I am sure you have already one activity that you are very proud of, if you could share with us. And another one that didn't go as well as you have planned, and what lessons did you take from there?
Well, I would say that all these capacitation activities that I just briefly described, so just to add up a little bit, so it mixes some of your approaches. So we did, if I'm not wrong, this will be the 5th presential meeting with people. and we do a lot of them online also. So, and I think this probably is one of the most important activities that we did. But we are also, and looking at funding, we took the opportunity that NetZeroCities had this call, and we were defied by the mission cities in Portugal to put together a project that was, this call was just for mission cities. And so Guimarães, Porto and Lisboa, we joined together with them to develop this successful proposal that at the end of the day will also benefit all the cities in the network. We are including a lot of activities with the other cities, because what we want is to accelerate the knowledge. So one of the things, for instance, it's very interesting, is we are putting up this very practical implementation guides. So it's not just these high-level, case studies that you see, and then at the end of the day, it doesn't help you to implement anything. So we are looking at what are the most successful activities and actions that have been done in each of the areas of the Climate City contracts, and we are breaking it down into procedures, how to do step by step. And we are doing this with the mission cities, but then we will be spilling over this to the network, and also, of course, to other cities that want to join us meanwhile. So I think this was a very important moment last year when we got the news that we were successful with our submission, because now we have more resources, but also more ways of creating value to all the cities, and this is very important for us.
Thanks. Julio, do you have any activity that you are proud of? And then another one that didn't go as planned?
Well, I think we talked about the summer school, which is probably the one thing, and the weekly meetings we have. That's the foundation of everything. Probably you don't know that, but we meet, well, you know, of course, because you join us. But we meet online every week for 1.5 hours, which is crazy probably. But after 150 or more than 150 meetings, people continue attending these sessions, which means that it's useful for them, right? So I think that's the way to create a community and work together. And the thing that is not working as good as I would want to is the engagement of private sector. Although we are working hard on this, it's so hard to make this happen. So that's the thing we need to work, and that's why we are developing these actions I mentioned before, because we are not so proud about their engagement in the platform.
Yeah, so I think so we are very proud that we are friends with with our Spanish colleagues, and so I believe that this collaboration between cities is extremely important, because for climate transition doesn't mean if 1 or 10 cities are getting to be climate neutral and this doesn't help others, it doesn't make any sense. So it's only kind of those activities that spill over or scale to many, many cities that matter. That's why we believe that, so it's very important for cities to collaborate, but I think it's very important, it's easier for cities to collaborate nationally. That's also sure. So it's in our context, culture, language, legislation, regulations, and so on and so forth. But then also it's a lot of learning between cities and through platforms. And I believe we've learned so much from Spain, and we continue to learn. We are bringing our cities to your final conference for one of the European projects now. So it's, I think that it's a lot of learning. We are participating in your summer schools, just also to learn, maybe to bring some experiences to you. We are so happy that now we have a Portuguese platform, so I'm sure it's a lot of learning also among us. So I think that, and then we also have, I'm very proud that together we worked also supporting Romanian platforms, because honestly, when we started to talk about national platforms with the European Commission at the beginning, they told me, Olga, you create something for Sweden, it's typical Swedish, would never work in any other country. And then Spanish came, and then Romanian platform, Portuguese platform. So I do believe, I'm very proud that we created something which is feasible and viable in many European countries. What doesn't work? I think that it doesn't work for all of us. It's this kind of, we work very much silo, on the national level, on European level. When we came for 7 years ago to European Commission told us now through the mission we will create a family of different DGs and different programs so we can channelize money, channelize it from different programs to city support. So we will work as family, we will not be fragmented. So after 7 years, we've been to Brussels last week, and then they're saying, yeah, you know, there are so many fragmented programs, regional funds, missions, Horizon, DG Clima, and now we will work in order to put this as a family. So it feels, and this is the same on national level. We are getting a little better, but not as bad, as good as we should. So I think for 7 years, we didn't manage to be as a family of funding. And now I think we need to be even stronger voice, like city voice, to reach this kind of targeting funds to cities, forerunners who drive climate transition, but also all other important things that cities are doing. Because we do understand that cities need all this kind of support, and they don't need to waste all the time to running through this different program and trying to make sense of them.
Absolutely. Thanks, Olga. We are coming to an end, but I would like to open the floor to some questions. We can have 2 questions. I don't know if someone would like to ask a question to this wonderful panel here. I don't think so.
They are shy.
They are shy, yes.
We're here for the lunch
Exactly.
and for the break.
Yes.
So
Exactly. So I think you can also
catch us up.
meet
Yes.
our panelists during lunch and the coffee break. I don't know if you have anything else that you'd like to say that you didn't say and you said I should have said this. I don't know, Olga, Julio, Maria João.
Yes. No, yes, when we were preparing the session, you were sending us a final question, like, which are the 1 or 2 most relevant things? And I was thinking about this, and I want to say that there is an economic case here. So it's not about being nice guys and trying to work for the environment, which is, of course, good, but there is an economic case behind this. So Paolo mentioned this investment analysis. So we've done this through NetZeroCities to 43 cities so far across Europe, many different circumstances, and for all of them, benefits are higher than costs. So it makes sense to do these investments in the short term. So, and that's very important, because when we talk now about competitiveness and so on, it makes sense. And it's not only about economic sense, but also social sense and even efficiency sense. Because when we work together in the platforms, cities, because at the beginning, cities are always like, oh, another burden, so we need to attend these meetings or go to this place or work with others. We don't have time. But after some months, they need to experience this. In theory, it's impossible. But when they experience this, they realize that it makes a lot of sense, because they can go faster, they can do more things, they can be more impactful. So there is a case to make this effort, both in the city, but also at the national level, working together, right? But the problem, and that's the second thing, it's about the human factor. So it's all about also changing mindsets and ways of working, which is not easy at all. we know this very hardly because we are suffering every day. But people need also to work differently, need fresh air, need to have these meaningful connections with other colleagues from other cities. So it also makes sense in the long term, but it's hard because you need to work differently, you need to develop other skills, and we all know that it's easy to say that we want to collaborate and we need to collaborate, but it's very hard to collaborate, right? But I think this combination of there is a case, so it makes sense, and also it's good personally and socially speaking. I think this is a good, drive for the future.
Thanks, Julio.
No, I think so it's kind of also in line with what we are saying, Julio, is that we need to be much better to talk about multiple benefits of what we are doing. So that what we are doing is important for, of course, climate and our future, but it's also important for the health, for the mental health. It's important for competitive advantage of our companies. It's also important for resilience and security. So we need to be much better to have many benefits or many goals in mind, and not working again in silo on different things separately. But then also, I think, I don't know, I'm sure that you have the same problem or challenge. We have a lot of disinformation and pushback, and we have more and more, and with Trump's times. So we are having a lot of disinformation about climate transition work on social media, different channels, and so within Viable Cities, we are having pushback from some political forces and from some people and groups. So we're working a lot on storytelling, and we need to be much better on work together, like how to create appealing stories of the future and how to talk to citizens and have citizens with us. So and I think that this is a huge challenge. Without having citizens with us when we are working on climate transition in cities, we will never succeed, even if companies want to drive it or so. So we need to have both better methods of involving citizens through some new forms of involvement, but also I believe in this kind of storytelling and kind of creating appealing stories and appealing narratives. And there we can absolutely collaborate, but we always, when having like storytelling, we need to have appealing stories that are appealing here in Batoshiny, in Stockholm, and it could be different stories as well. But so we need to be very clear about this kind of, that it's not dance on the roses, and so we need to, we are kind of, it's not, so we were talking about Viable Cities. When we were created, we had a huge window of opportunities and winds that blowed in our, kind of, were blowing in our backs, supporting us. And now we feel more and more that the window is blowing in our faces, and we are trying, to be there, to be anchored in our collaborative work, and then we need to be much smarter and much better, and having new ways of involving citizens.
Thank you. João, last words.
Just adding up to the silo discussion, and to say that it's not only at city level that we have to break the silos, but it begins within the municipality, the institution itself. So the teams, it's very, very important. They are not, limited to one department or whatsoever. That's the need to have a transversality in the approach, and having teams that mix people from the different areas. And that's a challenge, and the cities that are with us and working with us, they know, they are here today, they know that this is always a challenge, because there's always a leading department, and then how to involve the others. So it's probably something that we didn't, if you wanted me to tell you what didn't go so well, or either you have teams already formed, like Guimarães has a team, Porto has a team, or you have to build this culture. And eventually it has to come from the top down in order to create this ability for people to try to merge more within the departments. And that's it.
Thank you. So I hope you got inspired for the rest of the day, as I got, also very inspired. And I would like to ask you for a big applause to Maria João, Julio, Olga, and thank them very much for sharing this with us.